Devin Nunes has left the building, him and his cow. He's gone to run Trump's new media company, and he's going to be the CEO of it, and hence he has retired from Congress. Now, you guys want to meet the guy who helped to chase him out? Kind of. Well, let's meet him. Lourin Hubbard, Operations Manager, Regional Water Quality Control Board, now running for Congress in Devin Nunes' seat. So Lourin, welcome.
Yes, sir, thank you. Happy to be here. Longtime TYT member and excited to actually be on the conversation with you.
That's awesome, I love to hear that. Okay, now we're really backing you. No, seriously, there's a couple things here, Lourin. So first, in regards to the Devin Nunes seat, it really wasn't his seat anymore, right? Because there was redistricting, and it went from +5 Republican district to a +7 Democratic district. So there was a good chance he was going to lose, and that's part of the reason that he ran away, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Plus having the opportunity to grift a couple million from Trump supporters is an opportunity that doesn't come around very often. So I'm sure that was also a contributing factor.
Yes, he wanted to get in on the grift that keeps on giving. So that's certainly true. Before we get into your competition in the Democratic primary, and in California, of course, it's an open primary, but you've got mainly Democrats running there. I want to talk a little bit about Central Valley. This was previously one of the few districts that was Republican in California, and I've always been puzzled by that because the Central Valley generally is more Latino heavy districts. I don't know if it was the case in your district, but why do Republicans win there?
You know, it's really kind of a situation of Democrats in this area running like Republicans, and so if you had the choice between Coke and Diet Coke, you're going to pick the Coke, and that's kind of what we've seen. You know, we had a person who ran against Devin Nunes and get really close in 2018, but he was a prosecutor. You know, not the didn't bring out the type of voters that really make up the Democratic base, but he was able to the philosophy is always trying to pick off some of these like Republicans or who are disenchanted with Trump or that could be persuaded. And you really come to figure out that a lot of Republicans kind of stick with their brand.
Yeah.
They're 1 or 2 issue voters.
Yeah, look, the National Democrats are deeply frustrating / embarrassing. Constantly trying to appease Republican voters, they're just not that into you, right? Like if you're voting for Devin Nunes after all the years he supported Donald Trump, you're not going to vote for a Democrat. I mean, it's just so foolish, and you're certainly not going to vote for a Democrat after the Democrat told you that the Republicans are better, and he's trying to be like them. So that is not the case with you, Lourin. You're a progressive now. You've got a lot of folks in this race, and a lot of them are state legislators. So how are you going to beat them within the primary?
You know what we're doing is really trying to talk to folks around these kitchen table issues. You know, when I'm going around canvassing in the district, whether I'm talking to Democrats or Republicans, turns out healthcare is the #1 concern for folks, and it is, of course. I've learned a lot about the different philosophy of talking to folks about healthcare. When I talk to a person who is, you know, when I knock on the door and they see a Democrat on the flyer that I give them, and they kind of loosen up, I know I can talk to them about where my values lie as far as healthcare being a human right. On the other side, folks that are on the more conservative side of the aisle also care about healthcare. But their concern is really what the cost of healthcare is. And breaking it down, really what we need to do in our messaging is really break down the cost of healthcare to folks. Wouldn't you agree that you're paying too much for healthcare? I think we're all paying too much for healthcare. I have talked to a guy who owned a trucking company, pays about $400,000 a year in his employees' health insurance. I told him, we sat down and had a conversation, and told him, you know what would you do with that $400,000 if you didn't have to spend that? He said, well, you know what, I'd probably turn around and invest it in my company, probably raise the wages of my workers. Of course, to steal a line from you. So that's really what we're going out and talking about is what can the Democratic Party in this area do for you that hasn't been getting done? You know, Jake, we live in an area. Fresno is actually the #1 city in California in terms of our metro poverty rate. You know, we have a situation where we are a majority Latino district with a Latino population that is 35% in poverty. We have a poverty rate of children under the age of 6 that's in the high 30%. So voting Republican hasn't really worked out for us. But instead of going in there and trying to differentiate and say, you know, this is the things that we stand for, this is how we're going to improve your life, we go in there, Democrats have been going in there and saying and talking like the other guy about stuff that they don't really care about.
Yeah, imagine how much better Democrats could do in that district and all districts if people thought there was a reason to vote for Democrats, that if you elect Democrats, they do something. But it's hard to blame voters when Democrats never do anything. And so they think, okay, yeah, I guess I don't like Republicans, but what's the point of showing up, because Democrats aren't gonna do anything either. And so you're a progressive. Exactly. Progressives actually wanna take action, and the others clearly don't. So now, Lourin, though, it's, first of all, I want everybody to know lourinhubbard.com. You see how his name is spelled. We'll put the link down below if you're watching the description box. There it is. And progressives need help in fundraising, because there aren't going to be a lot of corporate PACs coming in to help. That's for sure. So Lourin, though, it's really tough out there for progressives in a race like yours, because I imagine there isn't a lot of press. And usually the press sides with conservatives in this insane topsy-turvy world we live in. But I don't know the specifics of your race. How has it been there?
You know what? It is true. We do have a very limited press in this area. I, for one, have been doing my part in getting op-eds out there. One of the things that we are also focusing on, of course, water is the #1 concern. Not only in the Valley here in the Central Valley, but of all of California. But for me, you know, a lot of folks know about our water quantity problems, but not our water quality problems. We have little towns up and down this district where people can't turn on their faucet because of nitrate poisonings. And that is an ongoing issue that's been going on since Devin Nunes has been the representative here and has done nothing about it. So, you know, we're really trying to make the case and the argument in putting op-eds and everything where we can, kind of highlighting the difference. We have a person who says, you know, Nathan Magsig is one of the conservatives that are running for this seat. Every time he's on the camera, he's talking about really bringing water to the valley, and all this really nonsense. And I'm in the field, and I can tell you the ways that these politicians, our current politicians that have been representing this area, have not. Devin Nunes, when it comes to the infrastructure bill that was just passed, had an opportunity to vote for it, did not. Turns out that infrastructure bill brought in $600 million to help California with our water infrastructure issues. So I'm doing what I can to get out there, go on really anywhere that'll allow me. You know, thank you so much for giving me the platform to talk about issues here. But you know, going out to podcasts. Yesterday we had a January 6th, remembering January 6th rally that I was at, got a little press from. But anywhere I can be, I'm trying to be that everyman and be everywhere that I can be. I'm like Visa, everywhere you want to be.
Okay, well, I mean, boy, do you have the right expertise, because the Central Valley, understandably obsessed with water. and you were on the Water Quality Control Board. I mean, that was a kind of a lucky break. You didn't go into that because you think one day you're going to run in politics, right? I mean, it just so happened that water is a top issue and you're a water expert, right?
Right. For me, you know what, really, when I think about this race, why I started to run for Congress really goes back to 2011. It was a few weeks after my mother died. I was in my junior year at Fresno State here, and it was kind of a situation. My mom was a single mother with 2 kids who did, what you're supposed to do. She did work during the day, went to community college at night, got her associate's degree, started working, got a job with health benefits, but the health benefits, wasn't enough to cover her prescriptions. And she made the decision to ultimately put that money into other bills. And it was a decision that ultimately cost her life. And it was a few weeks after that I got a bill for her health care. And it really kind of served as a call to action to me, because at first I was just kind of like, what? I can't pay $80,000. It was just kind of a call to action. So I started a career in public service from that moment, changed my major over to political science. I started at the Department of Social Services, actually with Fresno County, really getting into working with the underserved population, getting to know all about our food stamp program, getting to know the ins and outs of our Medicaid program. And then from there, kind of switched over to work for the state of California as a health and pensions analyst. So I learned about our retirement program, about our health system for our public employees. And really, that's another issue that nobody is really talking about, is with people coming out of college now with student debt. We're not buying houses, we're not doing this, but we're also not putting away for retirement. And we're finding the situation where, we're getting squeezed, where our parents are starting to get to the age where they're like living with us because they also didn't put away for retirement. How could you? We haven't raised wages in this country in
40 years
10,
at least.
20 years.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
I've just been all about public service from the time I left college.
All right, we're out of time. So real quick though, I love this part. What did your mom say to you every day she dropped you off at the bus for school?
Knowledge is power.
Plant a seed, guys.
They can never take away from you.
Yeah, and so your mom, Lourin's mom, planted a seed saying knowledge is power. You became the first graduate of 4-year college in your family, and then public service, and now he's running for Congress. And imagine how great it would be if a TYT member replaced Devin Nunes.
Hey.
That would be awesome. So LourinHubbard.com, everybody go help, LourinHubbard.com. Lourin, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.